Hello everyone, welcome to Moonlit Stories. Today's story is about a girl trapped in a cold palace who dies and is reborn again and again, only to slowly uncover a terrifying truth hidden behind an immortal elixir that turns the entire palace into something inhuman, and this time, she refuses to die quietly. Without further ado, let's begin.
Before I entered the palace, I had it all: money, looks, and a carefree life. Then came the imperial selection. The Empress Dowager asked, "What do you enjoy doing?" I smiled. Growing plants. Raising little animals. After all, my family made its fortune from farming. She looked stunned for a second, then laughed. "You're surprisingly adorable." That was how I became Lady Feng Qingyuan, a low-ranking imperial consort. And my good luck lasted exactly 3 months. I was thrown into the cold palace for sending the wrong gift to Consort Shu. Seriously, how was I supposed to know she was allergic to garlic chives? I grew those vegetables myself in flower pots. I hadn't even eaten much of them yet. But after Consort Shu tasted them, rumors spread like wildfire. Her skin broke out in horrible sores. Blood ran from her eyes. People said she looked like a ghost clawing its way out of the grave. The imperial alchemists barely saved her with their miracle medicine. Poisoning the emperor's favorite consort should have gotten me executed. Luckily, the empire believed deeply in karma and destiny, and the emperor decided to spare my life. So instead of losing my head, I lost everything else. I was stripped of my title and locked away in the cold palace. The place wasn't actually cold. It was just sealed off from the world. Towering walls, heavy doors, no servants. Every day, a meal would slide through a tiny opening in the wall. The food tasted awful, but at least I didn't starve. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Since when could garlic chives make someone bleed from every hole in their face? 6 months later, I got my answer. A scream shattered the silence outside. Then came growls. Deep. Hoarse. Not human. I looked through the little opening in the wall. 2 palace maids were tearing into Feng Guoren. Tearing into her. Feng Guoren had entered the palace with me. She lay in a pool of blood, half her face gone, one eye hanging by a thread. Then, she moved. She slowly pushed herself off the ground. Her body twisted at impossible angles. A low growl came from her throat. I nearly stopped breathing. She looked exactly like the monsters from the bedtime stories my father used to tell me. The dead that ate the living. I collapsed onto the floor, shaking. Was I losing my mind? The screams outside gradually faded. But the growls kept multiplying. After that day, no one brought me food anymore. I curled up on my bed, colder and weaker with every passing day. Then I closed my eyes. And opened them again. I was back on the very first day I became an imperial consort. I was alive. I had been given a second chance. This time, I would survive. I stopped giving gifts. Stopped standing out. I followed every rule and treated everyone politely. Even when Consort Shu hated me for no reason. Even when she stole my rewards and made my life miserable. I endured it all. And, because I never made another mistake, I was promoted the following year and moved into Yuxiu Palace with Feng Guoren. Little by little, the nightmares of my previous life began to fade. Until I looked at Feng Guoren. Then I would remember her ruined face. Every single time. The morning of August 22nd, year 3 of Tianyuan. I had just finished greeting the Empress and was walking back to my residence. Then I heard it. That growl. The one from my nightmares. I turned around. A eunuch covered in blood lunged at me. His eyes were empty. No, not empty. Dead. Your ladyship, run. Xiaohe threw herself in front of me. But before she could finish speaking, another crazed guard grabbed her. Blood splashed across the stone path. No, not again. They were back. The monsters were back. My entire body went numb. I had been reborn. And I still couldn't escape this nightmare. Growls echoed from every corner of the palace. Closer. Closer. I closed my eyes in despair and waited for death. Then a familiar voice suddenly rang in my ears. Your ladyship, my name is Xiaohe. I've been assigned to serve you from today onward. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting in the main seat of a side hall. 3 maids and 2 eunuchs were kneeling in front of me. I had been reborn again. I threw my arms around Xiaohe. She was so scared that she nearly buried her face in the floor. Your ladyship, please don't. I don't deserve this. Right. We weren't close yet. At that time, I still lived in a tiny courtyard called Fragrant Garden. My superior was noble consort Jia, the mother of the second princess. Looking at Xiaohe's face, I remembered how she died protecting me. This time, I had to prepare. If that disaster was coming no matter what, then I would be ready for it. The courtyard was tiny. There wasn't even enough room for daily supplies, let alone storing food. And those thin wooden doors? A strong kick could break them. So I started working on a plan. The emperor loved medicine and strange legends. I talked with him every day about mysterious stories. He loved making pills with those so-called masters, so I praised every strange pill he made. Wow, this one is so round and shiny. You're definitely close to discovering the secret of immortality. The emperor loved hearing that, but Consort Shu hated it. She practically moved into the alchemy room and stayed by the emperor's side every day. Feeling guilty for ignoring me, the emperor promoted me to a higher rank. Not a huge promotion, but enough to let me have my own palace. I immediately asked to move. I chose Yushio Palace, a remote and quiet place. The only other resident there was Fong Guerin. She was an adopted daughter of a small-town official. Same age as me. Short, loud, and painfully honest. But she was actually a good person. As long as I didn't think about what happened to her in my last life. The first thing I did after moving in? I pulled out every flower and decorative plant in the yard. Then I planted wheat, corn, cabbage, and potatoes. 3 days later, Consort Shu reported me. She said I was ruining the royal image. Everything got pulled out. Plan A failed. Then I tried digging a cellar to store food. When the monsters came, I could plant fast-growing vegetables and survive. Unfortunately, the palace ground was harder than stone. 2 eunuchs dug all afternoon and barely made a dent. The noise even attracted the guards, who thought a fight had broken out. Plan B failed. Fine. If I couldn't hide food underground, I'd hide it indoors. Based on my previous lives, the disaster would happen in late August. So as soon as August arrived, I claimed to be sick and stayed inside. I secretly stocked up on food and medicine. I also ordered the servants to keep watch outside. The moment anything strange happened, the doors would be locked. I even confined Fong Guerin to her room for a month. Her face from my last life still haunted me. Maybe this time, I could save her. But on the morning of August 22nd, a eunuch guarding the gate suddenly collapsed and started shaking. Another eunuch ran over to help. The first man grabbed his leg. Then chaos broke out. At the same time, a scream came from Fong Guerin's room. I quickly told Xiaohe to lock the doors. We pushed tables and chairs against them. Xiaohe was trembling so hard that tears filled her eyes. But she still held my hand. Don't be scared, your ladyship. The guards will come soon. Her hand was ice cold. Through the window, I saw the servants outside. They no longer looked human. They staggered around, making low growling sounds, searching for someone. I thought I saw Fong Guerin among them. The food inside could last me and Xiaohe for more than 2 weeks. But the constant growls outside, the pounding on the doors, those broke us first. As the food ran low, Xiaohe made her choice. While I slept, she quietly ended her own life. The next morning, I looked at her still body. Then I calmly opened the door. Turns out, I couldn't change everything by myself. 4th life. I changed my strategy. I won the emperor's favor and earned his trust. Then, during the ghost festival, I told him I had seen a terrible disaster in a dream. The stupid emperor didn't believe a word. Failed again. 5th life. I targeted the Empress Dowager instead. I served her every day, copied scriptures, and took care of her medicine. Finally, she trusted me. Then I pretended to faint during a ceremony. When I woke up, I claimed that a goddess had warned me of a disaster coming in August. I acted so well that the Empress Dowager almost believed me. Then she called the royal masters. Their answer? Nothing unusual. I was accused of spreading rumors and frightening people. Demoted. Locked up. Failed again. 6th life. Forget the palace. I wanted to go home. My parents would believe me. I asked to leave the palace. Denied. I tried asking to visit home after months of good behavior. Denied. No children. Rank too low. I tried sneaking out disguised as a maid. I didn't even make it past the gate before Consort Shu's people caught me. Demoted again. Confined for a year. Then I wrote a letter home, warning my parents and begging them to save me. Unfortunately, every letter leaving the palace was inspected. The letter never made it out. Instead, I was charged with speaking nonsense and disrespecting the court. Failed. Again. In my 7th life, I locked myself in my room for days. And finally, I figured it out. After 6 failures, I learned one thing. Never trust other people with your life. I needed a safe place of my own. A big place, strong doors, plenty of supplies, and as few people as possible. After thinking it over, only one place fit. The cold palace. It sat in a remote corner of the palace. Almost nobody went there. The walls were ridiculously high. The gates were thick and heavy. It was basically a fortress. From my first life, I remembered that the rooms inside were simple but complete. The old maids once said that the place had belonged to the late emperor's favorite consort. She loved peace and hated visitors, so everything had been built for comfort. A small garden, a private kitchen, even a little pond. The more I thought about it, the more excited I got. Hardly any guards patrolled there. I could move supplies in ahead of time, and no one would notice. And most importantly, I could farm there. I could raise chickens. For the first time in ages, I had hope. The moment I walked out of my room, I went to the Empress. I claimed I was sick and needed somewhere quiet to recover. Seeing how pale I looked, she agreed and even sent medicine and supplements. Then I went to the Palace Service Bureau. I said I was afraid of the cold and needed extra quilts, winter clothes, candles, charcoal, kettles, and heaters. Autumn was already here. The cold palace would be freezing in winter. And if I remembered correctly, it even had heated brick beds. I would need all of it. After asking 5 or 6 times, the officials finally complained. Lady Feng is using enough supplies for 5 people. This breaks the rules. Xiaohe argued with them more than once. No problem. I had money. Before I entered the palace, my mother had said, "Our family has no power, only money." So instead of giving me shops and land, she turned everything into gold and silver. 3 huge chests of it. After that, the officials smiled whenever they saw Xiaohe. Besides daily supplies, I had her buy medicine, salt, sugar, eggs, rice, flour, cooking oil, anything that could be stored. Soon, rumors spread through the palace. Lady Feng's illness was very strange. She was afraid of the cold, but she never stopped eating. The 10th time we secretly moved supplies into the cold palace, Xiaohe finally couldn't hold it in anymore. "Your ladyship, what are we doing? Why are we moving so much stuff here? We can always ask for more later." I quickly shushed her. "You'll understand one day. Just remember this. I'm doing all this to save our lives." "Did you get the seeds and fertilizer I asked for yesterday?" Xiaohe swallowed all her questions. "I got them. There are more than a dozen kinds of seeds. Radishes, potatoes, cabbage, eggplants, cucumbers, and more. I sealed them all in dried gourds like you said." "Excellent. Keep going tomorrow." She reached for another box. I stopped her. "Wait. Don't put that here. Behind the palace are 2 wells. One has been dry for years. It's perfect for storing potatoes and sweet potatoes. And open the side rooms. The old furniture is damp and moldy. They need fresh air. Oh, and the pot in the kitchen is broken. Buy 2 new ones tomorrow." Xiaohe stared at me. "Your ladyship, why do you know this place so well?" I smiled. "What if I told you I can see the future?" By March of the 3rd year, everyone in the palace had the same opinion. Lady Feng had gone crazy. She acted strangely and kept talking about monsters that ate people. One day, on the way to greet the Empress, I even ran into Consort Shu while trying to warn everyone. She was furious and had me dragged back immediately. Maybe we were simply born to hate each other. I acted too well. Even the imperial doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So the emperor called in the royal masters. The leader wore a mask. He blew a puff of black smoke at my face and muttered a long spell. I stared at him blankly. Then he whispered something to the emperor. I didn't hear most of it, only the last few words. "The elixir of immortality is almost complete. Be careful." That very day, an imperial decree arrived. I was sent to the cold palace. The gates were sealed shut. But since I had committed no crime, the emperor allowed Xiaohe to come with me. Everything I brought into the palace could come too. Perfect. Everything was going exactly according to my plan. Inside the cold palace, I didn't fully understand what those so-called mystics meant, but I knew one thing clearly. My plan was finally working. The moment the heavy bronze lock clicked shut, the massive gate slammed closed, sealing the inside and outside into 2 completely different worlds. I was free. Finally, I could stop pretending. "Xiaohe, we did it." I hugged her and spun her around in excitement. But Xiaohe looked like she was about to cry. "Your ladyship, yeah, we did it. We successfully got ourselves locked in the cold palace. I patted her back and tried to explain in a way she could understand. Xiaohe, what if I told you I'm not crazy? I just saw the future? She stared at me blankly. No big reaction. So I went on. In about half a year, something strange will break out in the palace. People will suddenly turn into man-eating monsters. They'll bite anyone they see. And the ones who get bitten won't die. They'll turn into the same kind of monsters. Xiaohe sighed. You mean those man-eating monsters you always talked about before? Yes, I quickly said. I only said that before so they'd think I was crazy. That was my ticket into the cold palace. But it's real. It just won't happen now. It will happen on the 22nd day of the 8th month. I leaned closer. But don't worry. The cold palace is actually the safest place in the entire palace. We have food, supplies, everything we need. We still have 6 months to prepare. I looked straight at her. Xiaohe, I can't promise we'll survive. But no matter what happens, I won't leave you outside. Her eyes flickered. After a long silence, she finally spoke. Your ladyship, I was sold by my father when I was 5. I entered the palace at 7. I was beaten and scolded every day. No one ever cared about me. I don't fully understand what you're saying, but whatever you do, I'll stay with you. This stubborn girl, she almost made me emotional. I wiped my eyes and changed the topic quickly. All right. We've got a lot of work to do. Looking at the rooms full of supplies, I felt full of energy. It's getting late. Go clean the kitchen and cook dinner. I want your pearl meatballs and silver noodle soup. We already had 2 carts of firewood stored away. The cold palace also had plenty of old furniture for burning later. Tomorrow, we'd chop and dry more. As for food and seasoning, Xiaohe had already bought plenty from the imperial kitchen. Even bowls and chopsticks came from my dowry. After Xiaohe left, I cleaned the bedroom under the dim sunset light. Luckily, I had secretly aired the room before. There was no damp smell at all. I laid down 2 thick quilts and replaced the bedding with clean covers and curtains. It didn't feel much different from Yushio Palace anymore. A cold wind slipped through the window frame, and I shivered. Spring was still cold. Now that the sun was setting, the chill was getting stronger. Night would be even worse. If I caught a cold here, it would be trouble. Thinking of that, I took out a copper basin and silver charcoal from the box, then fetched water from the courtyard well to boil hot water for warming bottles. In my first life, I survived almost a year here thanks to that well. Water for drinking and washing was enough, but if I wanted to grow crops, I'd need to use the dry pond nearby too. When the water boiled, Xiaohe came back with 2 bowls of steaming noodles, plus a side dish and pearl meatballs. Her cooking was amazing. After dinner, night fully fell. We cleaned up a bit, then crawled into bed early with warm bottles in our arms. That first night in the cold palace, I slept better than ever. The next morning, Xiaohe had already cooked porridge with cured meat and side dishes. There was no official timekeeping here, but no one was watching us either. No morning greetings, no rules, no lectures. Strangely, it felt free. We judged the time by the sun and started assigning tasks. Xiaohe handled inventory. She couldn't read well, but she had her own way of keeping track. She used to manage all my dowry silver and jewelry anyway. I grabbed the hoe I stole from the flower house and carried a bag of fertilizer into the courtyard. The weather was still cool, so weeds hadn't grown much. Easy work. I turned the soil completely, then mixed in ash, bone meal, and bean cake fertilizer. After a few days of drying, it would be ready for planting. If only I had chicken manure too. Then I remembered, we had bought 3 baskets of eggs from the imperial kitchen. I took each egg out and held it under the sunlight. My father once told me, eggs with tiny dark spots inside could hatch chicks. The sunlight was so strong it almost blinded me. But eventually, I picked out 12 good eggs. Carefully, I placed them into a wooden bucket filled with sawdust. During the day, I'd leave them in the sun. At night, I'd bring them inside near the stove. If they hatched, we'd have chickens. Fresh eggs every day. And our meat wouldn't last long. Even though Xiaohe had already salted and dried most of it, we'd still run out in the heat of summer. Raising chickens would be a real backup plan. Just then, clang, clang. 2 sharp sounds came from outside the cold palace wall. The food delivery had arrived. I suddenly realized something. If the food delivery eunuch saw that I wasn't crazy, and noticed I had secretly turned the entire courtyard upside down, that would be trouble. Before I could even think of a solution, a familiar voice rang out from outside the wall. Feng Guerin. Feng Qingyuan. Get your butt out here. Fong Garen? What was she doing here? I didn't dare respond and stayed quiet, listening. You disaster-bringing woman. You got yourself locked in the cold palace, and now you drag me down with you. Come out and apologize. I couldn't help myself. When did I ever drag you down? She got even louder. Because of your so-called madness. That consort shoe bitch went around saying it's contagious. And since I live in the same palace as you, everyone thinks I already caught it. Now people avoid me like I'm poison. And the emperor even ordered that I deliver your food every day just because I live nearby. I'm losing my mind. So it was consort shoe again. Now that I was in the cold palace, she had shifted her hatred onto Fong Guerin next door. I sighed. Then go complain to her. Why come at me? I'm already locked in here. Go to her? Fong Guerin nearly exploded. I would. But guess what? She's pregnant. The emperor hasn't been in the harem for a long time, except for one night at Jiahe Palace. And she got pregnant from that one night. How am I supposed to mess with her now? Pregnant? Something was wrong. Consort Shu had entered the palace early and stayed with the emperor through all those alchemy experiments. Her body should have long been damaged. In my last life, when I disguised myself as a maid trying to escape the palace, I even found out she was secretly searching for fertility remedies. She shouldn't be able to get pregnant at all. I originally wanted to stay quiet and avoid trouble. But Fong Guerin was technically involved because of me, and she would be delivering food every day. If she noticed anything strange, things could get complicated. So I spoke up. Wait. Something's off about Consort Shu's pregnancy. If you trust me, get another imperial doctor to check her again. I wasn't sure if Fong Guerin believed me. She stayed silent for a long time. Then her footsteps faded away. I moved the stone blocking the food slot and pulled out a small meal box from outside. Inside, stir-fried bamboo shoots, roasted goose slices, and 3 steamed buns. Better than anything I ever ate in my first life. That woman had a sharp mouth, but she wasn't heartless. That night, Xiao He and I sat by candlelight and checked our supplies. We had plenty of cold weather items stored in the north side room. White, yellow, and lamb fat candles, charcoal, firewood, cotton, copper heaters, hand warmers, hot water bottles, matches, fur coats, silk and cotton bedding, and seasonal clothing for all weather. Daily essentials and valuables included storage chests, basins and buckets, dishware sets, writing tools, toiletries, fine cloth, sewing supplies, books and paintings, silver and gold ingots, jewelry, cosmetics. Food stores included rice, flour, millet, cornmeal, cooking oil, sugar, spices, honey, pork, some dried, eggs, poultry, pickles, preserved fruits, medicine, and herbs. We also had seeds, fertilizer, farming tools, and kitchen utensils. The cold palace even had old hoes, shovels, and plows left behind. As days got warmer, we decided to save charcoal. Candles would only be burned for a few hours at night. Food wasn't rich, but Fong Guerin brought meals daily, so we only needed simple cooking. There was also a persimmon tree in the back garden. After August, we could harvest fruit. Xiao He sighed as the candle flickered. Your ladyship, will those man-eating monsters really appear in August? If not, are we just trapped here forever? I lowered my eyes. I didn't know how to answer her. If nothing happened this time, I would have dragged her into this prison for nothing. Once the cold palace gate was sealed from the outside, no one could leave. If peace really came, I would find a reason to say she was not serving well, then ask Fong Guerin to request an imperial order to open the gate and send her out. She could take the gold and silver with her and live safely outside. I stayed silent for a moment. Xiao He quickly changed the topic. Your ladyship, I heard the cold palace is haunted. Are you afraid? I smirked. Other girls grow up reading poetry and virtuous lady biographies. Guess what my father taught me instead? Xiao He shook her head. Strange tales and ghost stories? I nodded. And also farming manuals, agricultural books, and survival guides. If there really are ghosts, I'd actually like to see them. Xiao He looked scared, but curious. What do they say in those stories? I leaned closer, serious. Green-faced monsters. Eyes hanging out of their sockets. Blood coming from every opening in their face. The image of Fong Guerin's half-destroyed face flashed in my mind again. Xiao He immediately pulled the blanket over her head. Your ladyship, please stop. I quickly reassured her. Don't worry. We even have those mystic masters in the palace. If anything evil shows up, they'll handle it. I froze. Right. The palace had those so-called immortal masters. They could supposedly slay demons and even refine immortality pills. So when everything truly collapsed, where were they? Over the next week, I didn't see Fongern at all. But the food she sent kept getting better and better. Not just soups and pastries anymore. There were even fresh fruits sometimes. It was clear she was doing well lately, maybe even gaining favor. That's how the palace worked. Same rank on paper, but daily treatment could be completely different depending on favor. On a few sunny days, Xiaohe took everything out to dry in the sun. Spoiled fruits and vegetables were hung under the eaves to dry. I used the prepared field and started planting. Rows of onions, garlic, and chili peppers. 2 rows of corn. A line of soybeans in the middle. Leafy greens on the sides. Sweet potatoes, radishes, eggplants scattered across the rest. I even tried a patch of wheat. Not because it was easy to grow, but because grinding flour later would be a real problem. Around the edges, I built a simple frame. Cucumbers and gourds climbed above it, tomatoes grew below. In a small empty corner, I planned to plant watermelons later when it got warmer. In summer, we could chill them in the well water and make watermelon jelly. Xiaohe wanted to plant coriander too, but I firmly refused. Still, she reminded me of something good. There was wild citronella growing in the corner, perfect for repelling insects. We moved some into the room. A few days later, I picked a warm day to clean out the dried-up pond in the courtyard. I added slanted roof tiles around it so rainwater could flow in and collect. We also cleaned out 2 large storage jars under the eaves. When everything was done, I stood on the steps and looked at the new cold palace. Much better. Finally, it felt like a place to live. Spring rain finally came in April. Xiaohe and I opened the windows and lay on the bed, quietly listening to the rain hitting the roof. The seeds had already sprouted. The once empty courtyard was now full of life. Xiaohe loved listening to my strange stories. Even though she was scared every time, she always begged for more. One more story, your ladyship. Please. After every story, her eyes would shine with curiosity. Your ladyship, you really know so much. Are those stories in books real? Looking at the box of books from my dowry, I made a decision. I would teach her to read. She wasn't interested in basic primers, so I took names from strange tales and turned them into easy characters like Big Man, Little Student, 112, and 89 Child. Just 10 characters a day. She learned faster than the palace students. This story is produced exclusively by the YouTube channel Moonlit Stories. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. One afternoon, Xiaohe was practicing writing in the room while I thinned seedlings in the garden. Suddenly, 2 clangs came from outside the wall. I looked up. The food delivery was earlier than usual. Fongern, are you there? It was Fongern. And today, she came in person. I walked over. What's going on? Something good happened? She sounded cheerful, even excited. She even brought 2 jars of realgar wine. Dragon Boat Festival is coming soon. Good wine is rare, but I've got plenty of realgar for bathing. And I'm here to thank you. Consort Shu's pregnancy really was fake. She was bold enough to take fake pregnancy medicine to deceive the emperor. So, what happened to her now? The emperor spared her life since she served him for years. He stripped her title and locked her in Jiahe Palace. But many of her old servants ran away. Serves her right, she never did good anyway. On the other hand, I got promoted to noble lady. They're still deciding my new title. Even the empress asked if I wanted new people moved into Yushio Palace to keep me company. I immediately became alert. What did you say? She laughed. Relax. Even if I wanted company, no one would come. Everyone thinks I live with the crazy illness Fongern. Who would dare move in? I finally relaxed. Alright, so how are you going to thank me? She pretended to be angry. You greedy thing. I've been bringing you food every day and I even came in person. Isn't that enough? Fine. Tell me, what do you want? I became serious. It's not urgent now, but if you ever get the chance to visit your family or send letters out, can you help me send one home? That had always been on my mind. I was safe here, but my parents didn't know what was coming. They needed warning. Fongern thought for a moment. To visit family, you need at least consort rank. That'll take years. But letters, that's easier. Just not now. We'll have to wait. Alright, thank you. After she left, Xiaohe suddenly ran out from the room. Your ladyship, come quickly. It hatched. They're out. I froze. What hatched? The chicks. The chicks have hatched. 12 good eggs finally hatched into 9 chicks. I raised them in a chicken coop in the southwest corner of the courtyard, feeding them insects I caught from the vegetable field every day. Sometimes Fong Guerin would hear strange noises and ask about them. I told her it was just birds chirping, and she actually believed it. As for Fong Guerin, after being promoted, her life only looked glorious at first. Later on, things weren't as favored as expected. When she had nothing to do, she would bring a jar of Realgar wine during afternoon food deliveries and chat with me through the wall. I didn't like drinking, but it helped repel insects and snakes, so I kept it anyway. Besides, she couldn't see whether I actually drank it or not. That cursed Wu Guerin. Every time she runs out of supplies, she sends her maid to snatch things from the palace storeroom. You know, another body was found in the Jinshui River. That makes 5 this month. The eunuchs said the eyes and nose were full of blood. It's terrifying. The emperor hasn't held court for a week. He stays in the alchemy room every day. They say Master Su's immortality pill is almost ready. They say money can solve anything. After I started using silver to get things done, Steward Wang suddenly became very polite. Even though I never left the cold palace, I knew everything happening outside. That so-called immortality pill. I remembered in past lives the emperor kept refining it, but nothing ever really worked out. Instead, the man-eating disaster came first. I even warned them kindly before, but those so-called masters accused me of spreading lies. Still, when Fong Guerin mentioned the bodies in the river, the image reminded me of Consort Shu in my first life after that garlic chive allergy. Thinking of that, I slipped more silver through the small opening. Take this. Help me find a few piglets. Alive ones. And bring me nails and wire too. There were 2 empty side rooms next to the chicken coop area. We had already broken most of the furniture for firewood. Perfect for raising pigs. Fong Guerin cursed while taking the money. Live piglets? Why don't you just ask me for sheep instead? Where am I supposed to find that? Fong Qingyuan, don't push it. I can barely get you rice and oil already. And now you keep asking for paper, ink, brushes. What, are you writing a book in there? There was no helping it. Xiao He had recently become extremely hardworking, writing 10 pages a day. If she were a man, she would have easily passed imperial exams. Even though she complained, 2 days later she really did bring 3 piglets. And 2 lambs. The food slot was so small she struggled a lot getting them through. Fong Guerin panted angrily. It stinks. If you make me do this again, I'll put rat poison in your food. As the Mid-Autumn Festival approached, reunion season arrived. There was only 1 week left before the disaster. We had already harvested 1 round of vegetables and stored them in the dry well in the backyard. The piglets had grown bigger. The lambs, however, barely changed. Outside the cold palace, every palace was busy preparing for the festival. Only Fong Guerin still had time to complain. Consort Shu is acting up again. She's always with the emperor in the alchemy room. Hasn't shown up for half a month. She didn't even attend greetings to the empress. Tomorrow's mid-autumn banquet. Everyone above concubine rank must attend. I really don't want to see her face. If the emperor hadn't ordered that immortality pills would be rewarded at the banquet, I would have faked being sick. But Qingyuan, do you really think that immortality pill works? If people don't die anymore, wouldn't that make them monsters? Not dying, becoming monsters. Her words suddenly triggered a chilling thought in my mind. The emperor of this dynasty obsessed over immortality, sending people across the world to find masters and alchemists, imitating the first emperor's pursuit of eternal life. When the ruler favors something, the whole court follows. Even households privately built their own alchemy furnaces. But my father once told me, humans eat grains, live through birth and death. This is unavoidable. In all my previous lives, I never attended palace banquets, nor did I receive any so-called immortality pill. And Consort Shu, who controlled the harem, would likely have withheld anything meant for me. Maybe that was exactly why Xiao He and I never turned into those monsters. Because we never took the immortality pill. Fong Guerin saw I was silent for a long time and thought I was upset. She quickly added, "Tomorrow you can send gifts to your family. Have you finished your letter? I can deliver it for you." I slipped the prepared letter through the wall opening and lowered my voice. "Aji, the immortality pill is not normal." "What?" She snapped immediately. "Feng Qingyuan, don't say such things. That's forbidden." "I'm not making it up. Anyone who takes it turns into a monster within a week. AG, I'm not fully certain, but it's safer to be careful. Don't take it. Don't let anyone know you didn't take it. Prepare food and charcoal. And on the 22nd of August, lock your doors early. Don't keep palace staff around you. She seemed to think I was having another episode. Instead of responding, she asked about the letter. You didn't write anything rebellious, did you? You know everything is checked before leaving the palace. Your illness is a royal scandal. Your parents don't even know. No, I said softly. Don't worry. I didn't say anything like that. It was true. The letter only contained greetings and memories. I wrote about childhood moments, about my father telling me strange tales, especially the story I loved most. I even mentioned how I had recently been dreaming about those stories vividly, as if I had lived through them, and asked my parents to take care of themselves and stay safe. I also mentioned an embarrassing childhood memory from age 7. After Mid-Autumn Festival, I once mistook sheep droppings for sweets and even tricked my cousins into eating them, causing chaos afterward, though I couldn't remember the exact date anymore. AG, please believe me this once. My voice almost turned into a plea. She stayed silent for a long time. Finally, she said nothing more, only told me to take care of myself before leaving. The following week, she did not come again. But her maid still delivered plenty of long-lasting food, meat, and charcoal. When I asked about Fong Guerin, the answer was simple. She's ill. Many servants were sent away. On the 22nd day of the 8th month, in the 3rd year of Tianuan, around mid-morning, faint low growls echoed outside the cold palace. Xiaohe opened the food slot, lay flat on the ground, and peeked outside. Then she suddenly whispered excitedly, Your ladyship, it's real. It's really those man-eating monsters. It's the palace maid who delivered our food 2 days ago. She looks terrifying now. My heart tightened, but I forced myself to stay calm. Is there anyone else? Xiaohe looked again. There are 2 eunuchs too, but they're farther away. I can't see clearly. They look like they're from Yushio Palace. Then, a scream rang out in the distance. My chest clenched. I just hoped Fong Guerin was safe. Not wanting Xiaohe to see my worry, I pretended to be relaxed. See? I told you. Go, set up the stove. We're having hot pot. The cold palace was already remote, and Yushio Palace next door had emptied out after Fong Guerin fell ill. Apart from occasional growls and distant screams, life inside felt strangely unchanged. Just, the familiar knocking at the food slot was gone. As the days turned colder, we prepared winter clothes and charcoal early. After harvesting the last round of crops, we could sow the remaining wheat seeds. The small batch we tested earlier had actually survived. But this winter felt colder than usual. And the snow came earlier too. One clear day, Xiaohe and I went out to sweep snow. That's when we saw it. The food slot hole had been dug open from the outside at some point. Even the stones we used to block it had been pushed far away. Xiaohe suddenly screamed and fell back into the snow, her face turning deathly pale. I rushed to help her up. Then I saw it. Inside the bowl-sized opening, a half-body was forced through, a half-rotting corpse. Only a crushed head with no clear features, a neck covered in bite marks, and a torn left side of the body squeezed into the courtyard. The rest was still stuck outside the hole. Half a face. That familiar image flashed through my mind. My whole body started shaking. Please don't. Please don't be Fong Guerin. Xiaohe was already too frightened to speak, so I covered her eyes and helped her back inside. But who else would even know about this opening except Fong Guerin? I didn't dare think further. Holding back fear and grief, I grabbed a wooden stick and forced the corpse out of the hole. But then something happened. When the stick hit the half-head, the body suddenly twitched. A low growl came out again. It was still alive, still trying to crawl in. Even like this, it wouldn't die? I gritted my teeth and pushed the stick deeper. The moment it pierced through, a blood-red worm suddenly crawled out from the eye socket. It shot straight toward me. I reacted instantly and smashed it hard with the stick. It burst into pieces. The corpse finally stopped moving. I pushed it fully outside, then used soil and bricks to seal the hole completely. A worm born from decay? It didn't look like one. If the monster wasn't dead, why didn't it keep crawling in? If it had gotten inside, we might have died in our sleep last night. Then I noticed something. On both sides of the sealed hole, the jars of Realgar wine Fong Guerin had sent me were still standing there. That night, Xiaohe developed a high fever from shock. Her face burned red as she lay in bed, crying and calling out incoherently, "Mother, don't leave me." She was only 15, just a child. For 3 days, I barely slept. I boiled every medicine I had and fed it to her again and again. If she vomited, I cleaned it and tried again. On the 4th morning, she finally opened her eyes and said one thing: "I'm hungry." I broke down crying and laughing at the same time. I rushed into the kitchen and managed to cook a bowl of thin noodles. She ate it all in one breath, not even leaving the soup. She said it was the best food she had ever had. To help her recover, I even killed a young pig and made nourishing soups. Slowly, she recovered. But then I fell sick instead. I coughed constantly, sometimes all night without sleep. During the quiet winter days, I often just sat in the courtyard staring at the sky. By now, I had pieced most of it together. The so-called immortality pill was likely a kind of parasitic worm refined by those so-called mystics to control people. I once read about it in a book called Record of Warding and Burning Goo Spirits. Once infected, a person lost all emotion and consciousness, becoming a walking corpse. The corpse would spread the parasite through bites. Unless the worm inside was killed, the body could not die. That was what they called immortality. When I was young, the book description terrified me. My father comforted me, saying realgar, cinnabar, or certain herbs could protect against it. The realgar wine Fong Guerin kept sending me had saved us by accident. But did she keep any for herself? The palace had likely already fallen, and I didn't know what was happening outside. How many immortality pills had been taken during the mid-autumn banquet? I worried about my parents, whether they had understood my letter. They had land and grain, so survival shouldn't be a problem, but there were servants at home. Any one of them could have been infected. Was Fong Guerin truly sick, or just pretending? Was the corpse in the hole hers? Had she listened to my warning at all? She had helped me so much before. Did she even save anything for herself? And then, suddenly, I realized something. From the very beginning, I was the one whose fate had already been decided. The strong gates of the cold palace protected me and Xiaohe, but they also sealed away all hope of escape. When disaster truly came, who would ever come to unlock that door from the outside? The low growls gradually became rarer. By the following spring, I no longer had the strength to farm. So Xiaohe picked up the hoe and slowly turned the hardened soil, just as I had instructed. She also planted some chamomile seeds among the vegetables. She said once the flowers bloomed, she could dry them and brew tea to help my cough. The leftover persimmons from last year were also sealed and made into wine. But the 2 lambs still never produced milk. Maybe Fong Guerin had bought the wrong breed. Days passed quietly. Xiaohe learned more and more characters. She often held a book in her hands, telling me stories from it. She even learned the phrase clear water ripples, wind lifting lotus leaves, and carefully wrote it out for me stroke by stroke. I held her writing in my hands and read it slowly. And then, without realizing it, my eyes filled with tears. Through blurred vision, I suddenly heard knocking from outside the courtyard wall. Knock, 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 knock. My heart started beating with it. Feng Qingyuan, are you still alive? No, wait. Why can't we open this broken gate? We already broke the lock. That hole, wasn't it already sealed? How could there be someone outside? I walked slowly to the courtyard gate and carefully removed the 2 wooden bars I had locked from the inside. I pushed gently. The gate actually opened. Under the burning red sunset, my father and mother were already in tears. A red carriage stood behind them, and beside it, Fong Guerin was shouting through tears. You didn't respond for so long. We thought you were gone. And your stupid letter, could you not have written it more clearly? Your parents almost couldn't understand it. Who remembers what day you ate sheep droppings 10 years ago? But honestly, you did one good thing. I thought you really had lost your mind. Luckily, I kicked everyone out of Yushio Palace days in advance. Before she could finish, I ran forward and hugged them tightly. Only one word came out of my mouth. Home. Home.
Thank you so much for listening to Moonlit Stories. Before we say goodbye, I just want to share a small thought about this story. What stayed with me the most is not just the palace full of secrets, but the fragile bond between the girl in the cold palace and Xiaohe. In a place where everyone could disappear overnight, they were each other's only real home. Even when fear, illness, and the unknown world outside kept closing in, they never truly let go of each other. And Fong Guerin, she felt like a strange bridge between survival and chaos. half ally, half risk. Yet without her, the truth might never have reached the end. This story reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous prisons are not the walls around us, but the truths we are forced to live inside. If you enjoyed this journey, thank you again for staying with Moonlit Stories. I truly appreciate your time and support. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next story.